Hey everyone, I'm your host Cadence, and welcome back to another episode of Project Honesty. This is a podcast by a young adult, for young adults, to acquire unfiltered advice and bold opinions, as well as take deep dives into the issues shaping our world. We'll challenge ideas, explore new perspectives, and have fun while navigating the ups and downs of life. This is Project Honesty, where truth meets curiosity and every conversation matters. Welcome back! It's been almost over a month now since I last posted, and I'm very happy and excited to be back here recording. So much has happened in my life since I went on my little break just about a month ago, so I kind of want to recap those life events to give you guys a better picture of where I've been and what I've been doing and some of the things I've been working through. I hope all of you have been doing well. If you've been keeping up with the Instagram, we have a new social media manager. His name's Victor. He's great. There's a lot of global things that have happened. And yeah, I'm just really, really excited to be back recording. That's a big thing for me to say, because never in the year that this podcast is running have I ever taken a month off. And that's a little crazy to think about. So that break was a big step for me. And you'll kind of find out why in a second. Also, I forgot that when I went on this break, Project Honesty turned 1 year old on February 16th. So a little bit before the break. But on February 16th, Project Honesty turned 1. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe this podcast is a 1 year old. That is insane. Yeah, that's really cool. All right, let's jump into it. So where I left off. Back at the end of February, I posted a video to the Project Honesty Instagram announcing that I was taking a break. If you ever are so compelled, you can go look at it. Project_Honesty24 is our Instagram handle. And I just kind of explained that I needed a break. That life was running a little bit faster than I could, and I was falling behind. I did this because I believe that if I'm going to preach self-care on here or prioritizing your mental health, it would be very hypocritical of me not to lead by example. And I also care about the work that I put out. Like, I really, really care about what goes out on this podcast every single week. And if I weren't to take a break, I wouldn't be giving my best effort to this, and it wouldn't result in the best content that I'm proud of. And as easy it is to say this right now out loud, I was having a grueling internal battle with myself over whether or not I should take this break, whether or not I needed it or deserved it. And this is because of a few things. If you know me in my personal life, or if you've known me, if you've picked up on it on here, I'm the type of person who doesn't know how to slow down. I almost have like a tunnel vision to the things that I want to achieve. And so when I'm chasing them, I'm quite ruthless about it. I'm hungry for that. And this leads to burnout and exhaustion quite frequently. I've known this about myself since I started existing. I get burnt out quite frequently because of how hard I push myself. But there were some other things going on in my life parallel to this that made pushing myself nearly impossible. So what was happening in my life around the time I decided to take a break? Well, one of the biggest things, I was working on an acting project, one of the biggest in my career thus far. We had 10 shows totaling 15 hours a week of rehearsals, 28 hours of back-to-back tech rehearsals. If you are a theater performer, you would know 28 hours of back-to-back tech is insane. And the performance hours totaled over 35 total hours of performance. So I think it was around 40 maybe, I'm not sure, with back-to-back performances as well as double day performances. I also went through a pretty rough patch. On top of that, I lost two really amazing people in my life. I've even talked about them on here before without saying their names. So there was a lot of extreme grieving, and to be quite transparent and honest, there still is. I'm human, I'm not a robot, and those things still happened. And I think I'm only processing them still because I haven't had time to really think, which sounds so bad, but I just haven't. So I still think about them every single day almost. There's a lot of sadness, a lot of grieving, loss. My depression, I went through a couple weeks of really deep depression. My anxiety was heightened for 2 months, and my trust issues really came back. There was a lot of anger towards both of them, and also myself. I was very angry with myself. I felt like I was not only did I fail them, but was I failing quite literally every single person in my life. My best wasn't continuing to be enough, and I was being told that I just wasn't trying at all, and it just made me go down this path of me not feeling like I was good enough. I felt like a failure, and when you're told that in a time where you don't have time to take care of yourself, a lot of those feelings get pushed under the table, but a lot of them have to be processed very, very fast. There was one rehearsal and I don't think many people actually on the cast that I was working with can attest to this because not a lot of people saw me. But I cried in the bathroom for about 45 minutes on the phone with one of my friends, just trying to analyze and dissect and find a reason to why this might have happened at this point in my life. And to this day, I don't know. But I say that with the thought in my head that I did try enough. And I really was pushing myself. And you know what? There are going to be people in life that are there for you. And there's also going to be people that aren't there for you. And people that don't understand you or what you're going through. And that's okay. Even if they are the people you thought understood you the most. I will say people surprise you. And also because of this, I almost went to the hospital. I don't really want to get into that. But I almost ended up going back to therapy too. I just couldn't fit it in, so that's kind of the only reason I didn't go. On top of all this, I also had my overwhelming course load. As many of you know, I am still a high school student, a full-time high school student. So there was too much work and literally not enough hours in the day to get it done. So I was falling behind in every single one of my classes by a significant amount. And honestly, for a good 3 weeks, I was borderline failing. And I want to say that on here because I know that there's a lot of high school students and just students in general that think they can't bounce back, but I promise you, you can bounce back. Let me stand as living proof that you can bounce back. And also, on top of everything, I was trying to balance work. I got a job back in January, and so I've been balancing work. And then to wrap this all up with a pretty little bow, I was only getting around 4 to 5 hours of sleep per night, sometimes even 3, depending on if I had stuff to do when I got home after a 10 p.m. rehearsal with a studio that's 45 minutes away from my house. So this also caused me to be chronically sick. I swear I had a cold for a good month and a half straight. Swallowing cough drops and Dayquil is not the healthiest thing, but you do what you gotta do. And I was not properly fueling myself. There were some days where I'd eat one meal. There's some days where I eat too much. There was some where I would forget to eat and just drink energy drinks. So it was a lot. I was putting myself and my body through a lot. I put her through the ringer. And one of my biggest mistakes was not reaching out for help when I needed it and not being transparent about my struggles to the people that love me. I'm really hard on myself, and I tend to have a really bad mindset of believing that asking for help makes you weak, though I tell other people and you guys to reach out all the time. And I believe that asking for help makes it seem like I'm not working hard enough, which in my conscience I know is not true, but when you're in those stressful, overworked moments, you don't really realize that. And so despite all of my busyness, I was sure that there was more I could be doing. So I spoke at an International Women's Day conference, I analyzed new podcasting strategies moving forward, and I began some other personal projects like screenplays and film stuff. Then all of a sudden, I realized one morning that trying to get myself out of bed was a battle. I noticed that every time someone would ask me if I was okay, I would cry, rather than be able to give them an answer. Instead of eating, I was pounding back caffeinated kombucha and energy drinks to try and buy myself over through a 4-hour rehearsal. I was slowly but surely killing myself whilst trying to juggle everything. And the thing that I hate and hated most is that I love acting and I love performing, but it's hard to focus on something and love something when your mind is fighting to get the basic things done. So I decided to go on a break. I needed it. I was at my limit. So this break actually taught me a lot of things about myself. It gave me a new sense of my personal limits and capacity. There was definitely a lot of strength that I didn't even know that I had until the last month hit me, kind of like a truck. I didn't realize my limits until then. It also gave me time to kind of reconfigure and reanalyze what I wanted this podcast to look like and sound like. Again, found a new social media manager. When it came to my relationships in my personal life, I had found a new sense of love. I began to realize and truly, deeply appreciate the people around me who consistently show up and support me even on my worst days. I know a lot of my friends can attest to this. There was a couple weeks where I would show up at school only 2 times a week, and that was if I had a test. Those were hard weeks, and I don't want to go back to them. That also taught me that self-care is actually really important. I always say that to everybody that I know, but I'm hypocritical when it comes to taking my own advice. And so I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't fueling myself. I was skipping showers. I wasn't sleeping enough. And so it taught me that when you add all these elements of self-care, even the little steps, you will feel a lot better. You will act a lot better. You will function a lot better. And that's something that I learned the hard way, unfortunately. I also learned this the very hard way, but a very brutally honest way with myself, is that I don't have 10 brains, I don't have a million hands, and I definitely don't have 1,000 hearts. I have 1 brain, 2 hands, and 1 heart. And you have to use this wisely. I can only give a certain percentage of myself sometimes, and that I also learned that I can't always be the carefree person that I usually am, especially on my worst days. But I think that also is like another second lesson onto that is you got to find the people that are willing to be there when you're not yourself. And I think I found those people. My personal belief, like I'm a very spiritual person. I believe that the universe threw me all of these incredibly hard, strenuous, and mentally challenging obstacles over the last 2 months to open my eyes to the lessons that I haven't learned yet, as well as the strength that was already inside me that I had no idea about. And that as a whole gave me a better insight and appreciation for the people and the things that were already around me holding me up. So what is this podcast gonna look like moving forward? Posting will stay relatively the same every Monday at 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's also situation dependent. You guys know sometimes we'll be like, it's on a Tuesday. But consistent every Monday. I'm going to be starting something new. There are going to be some weeks that don't have set topics, and I'm going to call these current event weeks. With the amount of crazy daily and weekly changes happening in the world, it's very hard to keep up. That's why every so often I will have a current events episode. These will be less structured, but I will break down and analyze real-time / same-day events to provide updated information on what's going on in our world. And some of my revised personal goals is consistency in uploading, self-care, making sure that I'm okay so that I can put up my best. And I want to continue to approach topics with a learning to educating mindset. A couple other of my personal goals is go to the gym a little bit more, see the mountains more, read. I actually just finished the Sherry Frankie book. What is it called? Oh, The House of My Mother. Great book. I finished it in like 4 days. It's amazing. And overall, just take care of myself and not ignore my problems and instead address them. So this was a short episode, but a sweet one. I'm so excited to be back. And I want to say thank you again to those who have stayed and supported me through this hard time. And this is kind of what Project Honesty is really about. Caring for each other even in the hardest times. And I feel more myself now that I'm back. So thank you so much for listening to another episode of Project Honesty. You can check us out on social media. Our Instagram is project_honesty24. Our TikTok is project.honesty. Our website is linked in our Instagram bio, and we are available for listening on Spotify and YouTube. If you enjoy listening to Project Honesty, share us with friends and family, and you can direct them to the Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, website, or TikTok to help them learn more. Remember to subscribe, follow, and click the bell icon for updates when I post. And remember, the more listeners, the bigger the family.